Hey everybody, this is Rydo. Today we're looking at Danganronpa 1, Trigger Happy Havoc, as it is known in the US. It has an intro, so I wanted to launch the game so we could watch it. The intro does, in all fairness, have a level of spoilers in it, but I don't think that's too different from most intros, and the spoilers are frankly only going to be spoilers if you'd already played the game, so I don't know if that really even counts as a spoiler. Hmm. Hmm. There we go. Like these animations mean something and get reused later, but they really don't spoil too much. This is a visual novel game with a little bit more gameplay than your standard visual novel, with a bunch of kind of unique anime looking characters. Although, since this is a 2010 game, uh, there's less of the modern animation style here. Um, and it kind of goes to its own animation style, anyways. Um, and of course, this being a Japanese game, there are Sense and Sensibilities in just direct translation issues that will potentially not get translated and localized to the English version. So you're not going to probably get a 100% complete understanding of what was intended by certain sentences being said. Um, it definitely is weird looking, to say the least. Um, the reason why I wanted to cover this is kind of unique. If I was frankly smarter, I would swear off playing visual novels because they're all extremely long. This is made by, I guess, Abstraction Games and then published by Spike Chime Soft, or perhaps Abstraction Games made the Steam version of it, since this originally came out on the PSP. Um, so, the reason why I'm playing this right now is because basically I have no self control. Game Grumps, a much bigger YouTube channel than me, is playing this game as they've, like most people, been given an opportunity to have a lot more free time. And I can't stop watching them play the game, so I can't stop spoiling myself on the ending. So my best chance now is to try and rush towards the ending before I see the ending before played by someone else, which I guess that is the pre-order culture and playing games in general on day one as a risk, is that the fear of missing out or the fear of being spoiled is high on this game. And since this one is kind of a mystery reveal murder mystery game, you don't want to be spoiled. The only other option would have been for me to either never play this game, which I had already purchased it and already wanted to play it, or for me to hope that I could go 3 to 5 years, if not a decade or longer, and forget what I had already seen, which was not super likely. So, yeah, that's the motivation. Let's get to the setup. Um, Not a lot of options here since it was a PSP game. Danganronpa, I think, translates to Truth Billets, is what I think I heard. The only thing here that you might want to really change is movement bomb, um, or maybe the reticle speed. This does have controller support because it was a PSP game. I just managed to actually damage my controller, but it minimally, so I don't think that's going to matter too much. When you go into the options and come back out, it sometimes swaps the character on the right side, but you are playing as the character on the left side, and there's basically a whole collection of characters that you're going to interact with. If anything, compared to most visual novels, I would say this game is fairly evenly divided along gender breakdown lines, because this isn't this isn't what most visual novels are, in the sense that you're not really going for romantic options, and you're not really going for adult scenes or anything like that. Although, in fairness, there are basically brutal murders that happen throughout this entire game, and you investigate them, and there's brutal, horrific execution / tortures that also happen. So, yeah, there's still some adult themes, just not of a sexual nature that often. Maybe there's a line or dialogue that's a little bit lewd here and there, but I doubt it's even that much. So, yeah, I don't think we have any more setup to go. Ideally, playing any visual novel as a Westerner, I'm going to try and rush through it. There's also a lot of achievements around here through interacting and getting to know your cohorts, as it were. And we'll try to do a lot of that too, but I wouldn't be surprised if I drop the ball halfway through the game and realize I just can't get all the achievements and just move on with the story and try and rush with the story. So let's begin. So, one thing I can say here that I don't like is we have had no prompt of subtitles. That's almost certainly because, since it's mostly a visual novel, half of the dialogue is not voiced, so there always will be subtitles. But you also don't really have an option here for English language subtitles with Japanese language voice acting, which would be nice, certainly. So, but unfortunately we don't have that, so we'll go with English. Okay. Well, let's see. Does it benefit me any whatsoever to change the logic difficulty? I feel like if you change the logic difficulty, you might get more dialogue. So if you wanted to see all the game, playing on gentle might be the right move. But you might just be getting extra hint dialogue that doesn't seem to probably really wouldn't matter. And as far as the action difficulty, I don't think I need to change that. So I think we'll just leave everything at kind and hope that's the case. Or we could potentially change the events later. So here's Monokuma. He's a main character. And we've got a guy tied to a chair. And he presses the start button. And it's apparently blasting him off from a classroom through the roof and into space. And then he's falling down to his doom. I'll say the graphics don't look amazingly great. I see some screen tearing happening. So yeah, he's dead. But for a PSP game, I guess that doesn't really matter. So we don't hear him chuckle. But we can definitely see Monokuma is not a nice guy. So this almost is going to be a parody in some aspects to a visual novel and just a slice of life high school story. We have question mark, question mark, question mark. We don't know who's talking. The massive high school towers overall, the other buildings in this bustling urban area. The high school towers, not that the high school has towers. Probably could use a comma there, but it doesn't probably need one. Probably just rephrasing would be better. It's like the school stands at the center of the entire world. Hope's Peak Academy. So, yeah, you've got... That's actually kind of a weird architectural design because it's like the top half of the building is built by a completely different architect and much taller and much more modern art style. Where the bottom part of the building feels more factory-like most schools are designed to be utilitarian and factory-like. I'm not sure I like that the A button prompt is just always going to be there, but whatever. It brings in top students from every field imaginable, a government-funded school of privilege, which ideally I would say a government should not be funding schools of privilege. They should be funding each school fairly, and definitely not bringing the best students that you handpick and think are the best all to one school, because that's at a certain point segregation of intelligence, and that's not very helpful, or segregation of privilege because the people are have connections or are rich. That's the argument certainly against private schools in general, is that you leave all the poor people in the public schools and then you leave the public schools underfunded. They say that if you come here and manage to graduate, you'll be set for life. I imagine in Japan it is very much a case that there are schools out there that are super exclusive and do seek the best out of the best. Yeah, in fact, I know that's how the schools in Japan work, and I'm not sure it particularly is a good system. I don't think it is. With hundreds of years of tradition, it sends the cream of the crop into the workforce every year. I'm a little surprised at that. I would imagine a school like this, as it's being described, would send them into being lawyers and politicians and not really a workforce. Not a labor force for sure. It was built to raise hope in the nation's future, which makes Hope's Peak a pretty fitting name. This is a sharp contrast to what we're just about to realize. There are two things you need to attend this school. One, you have to already be attending high school, which that's weird because I assume that this is a high school. In Japan, high school is kind of like college as it is in the United States, where if they can pass the entrance exams to get into the high school, then they pretty much don't have to work very hard while they're in the high school. They've already kind of succeeded by just being accepted, but then they also have to work very, very hard in junior high to get into high school, and then post high school life, college is more laid back too. It's a very different lifestyle, certainly, going to high school in Japan than it is in the United States or anywhere else in the world. I would imagine it's much more stressful, much more exhausting. So what they're translating this to is you must have already been accepted to some other high school and then they must have decided that you're too good for that high school. Two, you have to be the very best at what you do, which the idea of any high schooler being the best of anything really smacks in the face of any adult who has put more time to become the best and train and educate themselves. Take that logic for a second. If there was somebody that was the best at, say, chess, and they were in high school and they were the best in the world, that person, when they graduate, runs the risk of some new high schooler entering the next semester and being considered the best at chess, and then all of your accomplishments at that point are just downhill because you can never be the best again. No ordinary student can enroll here. The only way is if you're scouted by the school itself. And standing there at the gate of the ultimate school filled with the ultimate students was me. Now we'll find out very quickly. Ultimate students and who are the very best at things is weird because it's not like one's the best at math and one's the best at athletics and one's the best at science. It's a lot of them are the best at a lot of weird things that you would not really teach in school.
Before we go any farther, I guess I should introduce myself. My name's Makoto Naegi.
Yeah, this really feels like the intro to something like a Pokemon cartoon or Yu-Gi-Oh! This is very, very different from where you get. And I guess they run a risk here where a game like this could get boring at the beginning and people kind of fall off before they get to the interesting part. That is certainly something I think would affect more people in the West than in the East, because Eastern players, Chinese, Asian, Japanese, those players are used to playing visual novels and used to putting a lot of time and a lot of reading into it. It's also fair to say that in Japanese, it's easier to read faster because of their language not being as wordy as English is. As you can see, I'm nothing but a hopeless average high school student. Average on the outside, average on the inside. So we're going to have little bits of dialogue, but not 100% conversations. But then sometimes there are 100% conversations too. I really don't have much going for me when it comes to grades, special abilities, or even personality. So, of course, this is supposed to be your blank slate character that you relate to, which is important, I think, more in this game than most, because if you don't relate to Makoto Naegi, was that how you pronounced it? Let's just go with Makoto going forward. If you don't relate to him, you definitely won't be likely to relate with any of the other characters. I mean, yeah, I have hobbies and stuff like I do, but it's not like I'm a psychic or a mutant or whatever. I also have to be very careful in the couple of visual novels I played before. If I stop in between each A button press to talk, this will take forever. Like if you ask me what my favorite song was or my favorite movie or favorite TV show, they'd all just be whatever's most popular at that particular moment. Even among the average, I'm completely average. So I can't even say I'm your everyday hero type. That's just who I am. Anyway, I figure it's always good to introduce yourself right off the bat. Like, I'm kind of disturbed by the fact that his hoodie doesn't seem to have any strings on it. That seems like a odd missing element in the animation. But you know, if I had any kind of strong point, so to speak, I'd say I'm a little more gung-ho than other people. I mean, look at me, I'm completely ordinary, but still, here I am standing in front of the anything but ordinary Hope's Peak Academy. The idea here, if this was such a great school, you'd think there would be students trying to sneak in or at least peek in. I still can't believe I'm standing here. I wonder if someone like me can survive in a place like this. It's got this overwhelming presence, like it's trying to swallow me whole. This would be a point, certainly, where I would have wanted to see more voice acting at the intro. But it's no wonder I would feel that way. What you have to understand is, well, let me just tell you about the preparation I did last night to get ready for today. So we have a highlighted word. There's no cursor here. And I'm playing with the controller, obviously, with the A prompt, so I don't think there's anything I can do with that. Let's see. Hope's Peak only invites those students who are truly elite in their field. So he gets an email from Anonymous. Come on, keep it coming. Apparently my friend kind of knows them. I guess everything there state of art. And then there's so the first Anonymous has a different ID than the second Anonymous. It's funny that for them to have ID numbers on them and still be anonymous, unless that's an ID unique to each posting. I assume this is some kind of chat board. We have a third Anonymous that says, this year's Ultimate Pop Sensation is going to be there. Yeah, the Ultimate Baseball Pro is going to be there too. So jealous, it's only for winners. Can't read that next line. But then the comment under that is, anyone can't. Yeah, it does feel like the IDs are unique to each message. Interesting. I don't know why you would have a specific ID to a message and then allow anonymous commentators. It's such a popular topic that there are threads online dedicated to talk about the school's attendees. So to prepare, I looked up some of those threads. All I saw was talk about ultimate students who are way beyond your average high schooler. For example, one incoming student is the ultimate pop sensation, which, yeah, in Japan there is a possibility that high school students become, high school girls mostly, become pop sensations, but it's not perhaps a full career path because it may make them very popular and successful for a brief time, and then by the time they're 18 they're too old to be in a pop group, and then they are mostly completely fired and forgotten about. I haven't really heard of any examples of pop sensations really managing to even become like news anchors or even small-time celebrities or anything like that. They just kind of disappear. The best success I've ever heard of a like J-pop stars that they announce their retirement as they're announcing that they're marrying their slightly older manager, and the managers continue to usually manage groups, so they're rich enough to I guess survive off of that. But yeah, settling down after being a J-pop star is hardly an ideal scenario. But yeah, one thing the Japanese are very, very common about is that they will move from fad to fad to fad. So one J-pop sensation will only last a brief time, and then they're on to the next group. I guess she's a high school girl who's also the lead singer for a pop group famous all over the country. Yeah. And see, this is a great point to, once again, 2010, kind of unique art style here. You're not going for the more common moe animation style in which characters are shorter and sort of younger looking and just not anatomically correct. This actually does look like a high school group of kids, but then it has very soft pastel colors on it that I would say it kind of has like a digital airbrushing effect to it. You're also not running into insane levels of anime fashion going on here, where you'd often see characters with lots of belts and lots of adornments. Here it's relatively tame. The skirts are not showing upskirt shots and panties. The characters seem to be in costume that seems reasonable to be showing off on a presentation. So by visual novel and anime style, this is a downright conservative depiction of characters. And then here we have, there's also the ultimate baseball star. which baseball is very popular in Japan. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, how popular high school baseball is. It's obviously going to be somewhat popular, but I don't know by what level. So yeah. Nowadays in the United States, if you were an ultimate baseball star in the United States, you probably wouldn't even barely make you a celebrity, because baseball has become just so unappreciated by the modern generations, for good reason. Baseball is way too slow of a game, and they've kind of failed to make changes to the rules over the years. The little tweaks to speed up the game flow could have really worked well. He's a cleanup hitter for the National High School Champs. Pro teams are already have their eyes on him. We're seeing little effects on these flat 2D animation characters. Then there's the ultimate fashionista, which, yeah, being a fashionista is another thing that is potentially something particularly Japanese girls might be able to accomplish. So yeah, and much like the pop stars, your fame will be very fleeting. And in this case, looking at these magazine covers, you're seeing the character, and it doesn't seem that bad. There are no less than 3 instances of cleavage being shown on this image, but it's definitely not that crazy, and the fashion's not that wild by Japanese anime fashion sense, particularly since they're on fashion models. Okay, so they show her in a bikini top at the top there, and that's a little revealing, but still pretty tame. She's on the cover of tons of fashion magazines. She's what every high school girl wants to be. Oh, and they mentioned the ultimate biker gang leader too. So yeah. This particularly might show the age of the writer of Danganronpa, because certainly in the 60s and 70s there's a lot of anime characters and biker gang leaders, but I would have to question in modern times if there are very many animes that they have biker gang leaders or biker gangs in them at all, and I don't think that there probably are that many biker gangs these days in Japan. But yeah, in a lot of ways he's probably trying very hard to lean on archetypes and stereotypes. Scary thing is, he's the de facto leader of every biker gang in Japan. Gangs everywhere love this guy. Love the guy. On top of that, there's the ultimate martial artist, the ultimate fanfic creator, the ultimate gambler, the ultimate swimming pro, the ultimate programmer, and the ultimate clairvoyant. And then some. Reading that made me realize how totally powerless I was. It was the country's finest, top to bottom. Again, I don't know why you would put like the ultimate biker gang character as the country's finest. The line that was covered up said, "How can anyone even get in?" And then the response was, "Anyone can't." I felt like a tame little house cat who wandered into a pride of lions, but still there was something I couldn't stop thinking about. You see, there were a few students who I couldn't find any info on, no matter how much I looked. This is a really slow intro for a game that I know plays very different from this. Yeah, we're like 30 minutes in, and certainly if I wasn't talking, that still would have been 15 minutes. With all those ultimate students, I'm the only one without any kind of worthwhile talent. But then, what about those other new students who didn't seem to pop up anywhere? Could they just be average students like me without any talent or anything? Yeah, what's the point of having, like, the ultimate fashionista go to a school that's not particularly even a specialized school around fashion or around other students who want to learn fashion? It seems kind of ridiculous. If you were going to have specialized schools where the ultimate students went to, you should have multiple schools based on different fields of study, and then have those ultimate students like understudy and teach the other students so that they can learn too. It's Ayn Randian in a funny way, as in a reference to Atlas Shrugged. The idea of taking all of the skilled people and locking them away from society. Which I don't know if that was intentional influence or not. Probably not. That thought was kind of encouraging. I mean, I know I don't have much in the way of personality, but beyond that, there's an even bigger issue. How did such an unbelievably average student like me get picked to come to the ultimate high school? I mean, I guess there is a reason. You just have to take one glance at the acceptance letter they sent me to see why. Says, Mr. Makoto Naegi, we recently held a lottery to select one ordinary student to attend our school. As a result, you have been selected, and we invite you to join us at the ultimate lucky student. Included is an orientation guide for Hope's Peak Academy, and this is labeled 2014, which is kind of funny because the game came out in 2010, although maybe they changed the date when they ported it. So Makoto is the ultimate lucky student by that standard. They spelled it out plainly. I got invited by pure luck. That is at least a slight move in the right direction, to have random pickings and lotteries to take in random school. There's a lot of concepts in the United States around charter schools that teach and do things that off the standard way of education, and there's a push sometimes for well, they used to call it busing. I don't know what they call it now, where you have students that are outside of the area where somebody would normally be allowed to go to that charter school if they so chose, and then they are bussed in to try and give more people opportunities. But at the core of it, a system like this is literally giving an opportunity to one lucky student while neglecting hundreds of other students. I feel like just looking at the building of Hope's Peak Academy and knowing the way I've seen most Japanese anime schools depicted, that the budget seems like it's 4 or 5 times as high. So yeah, I don't know why that budget wouldn't have been spread out to more different schools. Most Japanese high schools shown in animes, at least, and that would be my frame of reference, are like 3 stories tall at most, maybe 4. They're usually very minimal, a little bit run down, definitely not full of fancy equipment or anything like that. Honestly, I probably would have just been better off declining their offer. But after hearing how graduating was a guarantee for success later in life, I just couldn't say no. But then actually standing in front of the school, they're gonna make no mention as far as, I guess, his friends or family outside of Hope's Peak Academy. Because almost certainly, if any high schooler had gotten an offer to go to a school like this, the individual selfish choice is to take the opportunity, even if you don't agree with the general sentiment and the way things are being done, uh, you can't really fight the system from outside. The best you can do is take advantage of the system and try and change things from the inside, or change things later after you succeeded. Boy, is this a flat image too. Feels like they drew just flat images and then they textured them onto very generic polygons, which arguably for the PSP this might be as many polygons as you could easily have on the screen, but by modern standards the whole thing looks so fake, like like you're just looking at a stage, and that might be intentional too. I started to feel lost, like I didn't belong there. I could feel myself losing my nerve. But still, I can't just stand here in front of the gate forever. Frozen in place, murmuring to myself, I looked down at the acceptance letter clutched into my hand. It said there'd be a meeting for all incoming students in the main hall at 8 a.m. Meeting is still a little while, but I should probably just head in. Yeah, let's do this. And see, it stopped putting the text in blue, so I guess he said that out loud. I gathered all my determination and tried to act like I'd done this a million times before. So he's just gonna walk through the gate, which apparently anyone can do. I took my first steps toward the main hall. This is where we're supposed to meet, right? I guess I'm the first one here. This is marble floors. Very fancy. This looks way fancier than any other high school I've seen in an anime. There's a really elegant clock over in the corner. It says 7:10 a.m. The meeting doesn't start until 8 o'clock, so there's still a full 50 minutes left. It makes sense nobody else would be here yet. So I was so wound up I got here way too early. I have plenty of time before the meeting. Just standing around waiting isn't exactly what I should take a look around the school. Maybe that'll help me calm down a little. I am a student here now, so there shouldn't be any problem with having a look around, right? It'll help me kill some time if nothing else. Trying to play it cool, I took my first step into Hope's Peak Academy. It was also my first step into starting a new life at a new school. At least that's what I was hoping for. Man, that is a really long setup. And then we've got weird twisty animation. What the? But the instant I took that first step, my view became warped and twisted. It was like some kind of delusion melting away and mixing together into something else. Spinning, melting, then spinning again. So yeah, it's 40 minutes into the game to get to this twist. Like, that's really, really slow. And then in the next moment, everything went black. That's how it all began. They've also set up here, for all the weirdness that you are about to see in this game, they've set up a possibility that the whole thing is a dream or delusion, and how life as I knew it came to an end. At that point, I should have realized the reason I was brought to Hope's Peak Academy wasn't because I had ultimate good luck. It was so I could experience ultimate despair. Welcome to Despair Prologue. So yeah, a whole save just to get through that part with no choices at all. Now, why would you want someone to experience despair? Can't think of any good, decent reasons to do it. Only pretty mean and nasty reasons. So you can pretty much tell, or you should pretty much be able to figure out, that each of the characters we've seen are the other ultimate students. Let's see, how many slots do we have here? Is it infinite? Or is it enough? 30 slots seems like that is more than enough, and I'm not sure there's going to be any reason to really jump back, but there might be a good reason, so we'll try and cycle through these as we save, and we'll probably only save when we think we need to. Alright, now we have a different kind of menu, Makoto Naegi, and it says speaking, ... ung. What? Where am I? Woke up with my head resting on top of a hard wooden desk. My body feels heavy. It's pretty normal for me to zonk off in the middle of some boring class or whatever, but what was I doing asleep here just now? This isn't a classroom I've ever been in before. What the heck is going on? It's a little surprising to have all wooden desks. That looks pretty old-fashioned. And maybe that does stand out as fancier. Usually, I've seen school desks in Asian countries are typically more plastic with thin metal legs and plastic chairs, cheaply made things that are designed to last somewhat but not cost a lot if they're broken. Where a wooden desk like this and wooden chairs like this are probably heavier and more expensive. What's going on? Now we have a very different art style. So, welcome to Hope's Peak Academy. Firstly, we'd like to explain the basic controls. You can use the left stick to adjust your aim. Very, very different animation style. And see, now it definitely does feel like it is flat art being depicted on a on simplistic polygons. And then this whole scene just unfolded as if it was a pop-up book or a stage being built or unfurled for a play. We can also see that there's a camera, and we can also see that there's a clock, but the clock is obscured with a reflection of light. To the left is something written in Japanese, not translated, so we have no idea what that says, but I wouldn't be surprised if it says something like Hope's Peak. If you aim at an object you can interact with, you can press the A button, and presto, you'll investigate that object. Use the directional buttons or the left and R buttons to adjust your viewpoints. ... Why don't you look around, try to look around with the classroom. Okay. So, we can look at the camera. It's the right stick that adjusts your image. So we've got... What the heck? In any normal classroom, that's where a window should be. But it looks like some kind of metal plate has been bolted on it with insanely large bolts. And if I were to knock on it, conk conk. Yep, definitely metal. Thick too, very solid. Wait, that's not what matters here. More importantly, why are there metal plates over the windows? Let's see, I imagine if I hit this, it's the same dialogue. And is there any way to just hit B on that? Let's see, yeah, doesn't really feel like a full room. Alright, we got a camera. Is that a surveillance camera? It says Monokuma on it, but you can barely make it out. This is pretty low res animation. It probably looked fine on the PSP. That's probably going to be a problem with a lot of visual novels as they got ported to Steam. If they didn't get full-on remasters, the resolution of the graphics probably are pretty low, and I wouldn't be surprised, since visual novels tend to be kind of cheaply made, or at least they seem like they're cheaply made. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't render those images or hand draw those images at a high 2K, 4K resolution or anything like that. I'd be surprised if it's even 1080p. It's a dangerous world we live in, I guess I guess they have to keep weirdos from just wandering in. Well, you definitely aren't keeping weirdos from wandering in if you are just observing them with a camera. Let's see. So yeah, this is a very parallax shift perspective depiction style. Let's see. Geez, I can't believe it's already 8 o'clock. So they only wanted to animate it once, but you can read the clock. It was just 7 when I first got here. Has it really been almost an hour since then? I would suspect it's been a lot longer than an hour. If you are even the same person that walked in through the door. There's a TV. The school is funded by the national government, so I guess it's not weird to have TVs in here. Yeah. I've also watched live action, like Asian shows in high schools too, so I've in those instances also I've never seen TVs or schools funded. Heck, in half the schools in the United States, most classrooms don't have a TV in every room. Something feels off. I wonder what it is. Could be the level of technology of the TV, but if this was supposed to be 2014, a flat screen TV doesn't mean that much. Like they would have existed. Alright, so let's read this. This is the desk I fell asleep on. I can still see the line of drool I must have left there. I'll have to clean that up later. Hey, what's this on the desk? Let's see. The next semester is about to start. Starting today, this school will be your entire world. Hey there, new kid. It's like drawn in crowns. An orientation guide. So it's some kind of cheap looking pamphlet, and there's something handwritten on it. The next semester is about to start. Starting today, the school will be your entire world. So yeah, if that was what the pamphlet actually looked like and now you're seeing the world as it truly is, or if we are now seeing the world in some kind of twisted, demented way, that might make some sense. Yeah, there is definitely an argument that everything we're seeing here is not really reality, and that this is some kind of twisted perception of a slightly crazy character in Makoto. What the hell? Is this some kind of someone's idea of a joke? Okay, let's see. So what might have happened is I got myself so wound up I passed out in the main hall, then someone carried me here. If that's true, it must mean this is the classroom inside of Hope's Peak. But if that's true, that just raises more questions. This is all really strange. I mean, those metal plate coverings, the windows, it's like it's a prison or something. None of this makes any sense. I should probably head back into the main hall. It's already past the meeting time. There might be other students there now. You can leave the classroom by pressing the B button. Alright, well, before I leave the classroom, let's look at this door. Leave the area. Not quite. There could be anything anywhere. And the camera won't let me go any further in that direction or that direction. Like, and if we hit start, we can we can get some help. That's not really that useful. So if I hit right bump and left bump at the same time, it'll reset there, but that was actually fairly hard to accomplish. You kind of have to just tap it. Otherwise, right bump turns one way, left bump turns the other way. Which neither one of those really help much because you are also able to move with the right stick, so left and right trigger not doing anything. Let's leave the area. Geez, this hallway is kind of weird too. There undoubtedly will be some comparisons to, say, the Persona series and several other stories and series that take place in weird worlds or surrounding a bunch of high school students. I imagine there is an older generation of people who aren't used to playing video games, questioning why so many stories center around high school kids. But in Japan in particular, that's so obvious because your life is basically over after you get out of high school or college. You end up just becoming a worker for the rest of your life. Maybe you'll have kids and then have to work to maintain and feed those kids, but there is just no joy in life outside of high school, in which high school you're mostly free of many burdens while very close to having all the rights with none of the responsibilities of an adult. That is more so in Japan, but it's also true in the United States. Like, lots of people still living in the past and very happy with their high school, college time, and then very unhappy when they ended up just working a dead-end job. The reason for the weirdness? Well, the best argument I could ever make for the reason why so many stories in Japanese are weird is, at a certain point, magic mushrooms were legal, and that undoubtedly influenced a lot of people. Even, like, I think it probably influenced the Shigeru Miyamoto, creator of Mario. That it's probably no coincidence that you eat mushrooms in Super Mario World or Super Mario Brothers 1 and you grow bigger. And that is probably an effect, and certainly because Japanese people are so cyclical in the fads and the things they're interested in, it allowed for a lot of people to ingest a lot of varied and unique ideas and then evolve on them in a faster cycle instead of doing the same story over and over again. You would almost certainly never have something like a NCIS on Japanese TV, or a show like that's been going on for decades, where it's just the exact same police procedural over and over and over again. Even if you were going to make a show like that, they would, in every episode, strive to do something new and different, because doing the old thing is just not acceptable in the Japanese mind and mentality. At a certain level, Astro Boy and the earliest of animations were inspired by Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse and things like that, and they just took it further. I think certainly some of that has to do with the Gundam series, in particular, going in a very mature direction with its storytelling and having such a broad appeal. So it just kept on evolving and kept on evolving, and it kept getting more extreme and more extreme. And I gotta say, that's one of the appeals, certainly, of anime or Japanese video games or anything Japanese in general, is that they are willing to go to more of an extreme in a lot of directions that people in the United States are not willing to go with, which is kind of weird, because the Japanese, in their actual outward lifestyle, are actually very conservative, and that probably is the reason. Is in their entertainment they go very extreme, and then in their actual lifestyles they go very conservative, where perhaps there are more people who will, in their outward lifestyle, be a little bit more liberal and extreme in their lifestyles, and less in, there's probably less repression built up in the United States. Even the fact that the Japanese porn is censored is, I think, one of the triggering factors as far as why it tends to go more extreme when they do create it, is because they know it's censored in the first place, so it's going to be blurred, and Uh, they also have lived an entire life with that pent up repression, as it were, because all the porn in Japan is censored. But they also haven't changed that law, so you also know how they're conservative. I guess what I want to do here is, can we hit start here? This is really a bad point. Let's just wrap up, get to a point where we can hit pause and feel like we really can get to pause, and then we'll call it a day. Like, we really haven't accomplished much. Geez, this hole is kind of weird too. This is getting stranger by the second. Honestly, you have no idea what's going on. Well, for now, let's just head to the main hall. Use the left stick and move through the hallway. Hold down the B button while moving to run. So you have a movement mechanic in a visual novel and a run mechanic in a visual novel, which is very strange. Like, even here you can see they're trying to be a little different and ambitious by having actual interaction. Of course, with a lot more budget and a lot more focus on making an RPG, you'll end up with something like the Persona series. Also, you can press the Y to bring up a map. So you just immediately got a map, I guess, from the orientation guide. Press the Y button to close the map. How convenient. So, we are here. We just were in classroom 1A. And let's see. Over here, we have an AV room. And we've got a weird classroom. Over here we've got a store that says danger, keep out. Over here, I think that's the main hall. Here we have a nurse room that says danger, keep out. We have a male bathroom, a female bathroom, and then school zone 1F, locked. Wonder why there's a gate here. And then we have a gym. The gym, the handle didn't move at all. So you can just walk with the map on. Girls' bathroom, not that it matters, but it's locked. Boys' bathroom, good thing I don't have to go. It's locked too. What kind of person locks a bathroom? It's off limits, it looks like. Right, so this is the only door that's open, so that's the door they want you to go through. So let's look at some other doors before. School store, I guess it's not open. There is, I think, something kind of nasty around the idea of a school having a store. The AV room, it's locked. It's not like students have ways of earning money other than getting it from their family. Room A, this door won't budge. Well, which door was I in? Interesting. How did I get out of it? Here we have a Despair Hotel. Despair Hotel. I guess it's a place for people to stay overnight. But anyway, I need to get to the main hall. Interesting. Yeah, this feels incredibly video gamey. I wonder what the red door leads. I'm starting to feel sick standing here. Interesting. They've done a whole color theme here to disorient you, I think, more than anything. Because, like, having different colors doesn't really make it easier to know where you are. And holding B to run speeds you up a little bit, but not by as much. And clicking on that just automatically moved this here. By the time I got back to the main hall, everyone was already there.
Whoa, hey! Another new kid?
And we got some actual voice acting. And then some, like, cameras with maybe gun turrets on the top of them. Yep. So you can definitely see here there's a lot of weirdness in this animation style here. Each character is drawn very uniquely, and this was true for most of the characters in the last visual novels I played, the first two games of the Nonary games. Every character was drawn very weirdly so that they stood out and were unique. In a scenario like this, though, it almost doesn't make sense because it's not like there's going to be normal kids in the background that they need to stand out for. So the real reason why they draw each character is because effectively every creator of a game like this wants to have a character that is a new intellectual property of sorts, something that people would really, really fall in love with, and that they could sell little stickers and mascots and little keychain toys around. So you're not going to particularly waste your time drawing a generic looking character, even though there are, by relative scale, at least one or two kind of generic looking characters here. It's also worth mentioning, I think, that the character on the far right there is a female. So it's just kind of important to mention that because she's so big and muscly.
Huh? Then you guys are all...
Now that we have more people, we will have more dialogue, but man, for it to take an hour to get to the point where you actually have dialogue is kind of pointless, and you probably should have given this scene first and then had kind of a flashback prologue scene after this main scene.
Yeah, we're all new here. Today's supposed to be our first day of class.
And who knows who's talking there, because we don't know who the voice actors are.
So, counting him, that makes 15. Seems like a good cutoff point, but I wonder if this is everyone.
15 students in a single school is an insanely small amount of students. It's a pretty small amount even for a Japanese classroom. I would say you're probably closer to 20 students in one class with multiple classes. Even in this school, you saw there was a 1A and 1B, so if that was supposed to be first year students, then the idea of 15 students being split into two classrooms doesn't make any sense for the amount of chairs and desks we saw. There is also, I guess, a point to mention that, like, the ultimate fashionista and the ultimate pop singer probably wouldn't go to a school, even a very prestigious school anyways, because they would be like home tutored and be too busy actually doing their jobs than to actually work around a regular school schedule, particularly Japanese school schedule. You can also see in the background there's a giant metal door. Standing before me was the ultimate students that had been handpicked by the school. I looked around at everyone who gathered there, taking in their faces one at a time. I feel like at a certain point I should be the one that could move the screen instead of it cycling back and forth. Now I did just hit the left bump button, and so that hides the dialogue. Maybe I was just imagining it, but I swear I could feel a kind of aura coming from each of them. Then the room fills in again. How's it going? My name's Makoto Naegi. I'm just going to go with Makoto going forward. I'm sorry I'm late. A bunch of stuff happened. Then all of a sudden I was just asleep. So I wonder if these turret guns shot you with some kind of tranquilizing dart.
Huh?
Whoa, you too? things just keep getting curiouser and curiouser.
Mm-hmm.
So strange. I declare beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is a strange situation indeed. What are you talking about? I honestly have no idea what's going on right now. Just a moment. There's something else we must address.
Listen to me.
Makoto, your tardiness is unacceptable. Surely you're aware the meeting was to start at 8 a.m. sharp. This guy's eyes are crazy. To be late on your first day is unspeakable. I must report you, and you must accept your due punishment.
What?
What's your problem? It's not like you wanted to be late. You didn't have any control over it. Here we have the ultimate fashionista.
That's right.
Everyone just calm down. Listen, you're gonna hear key phrases like that. Like, that's right. Why don't we all go around and introduce ourselves?
Huh?
The hell? Now's no time for frigging introductions. Maybe, but it may be good to at least find out who we all are before digging into bigger problems here. I mean, how are we even supposed to talk to each other if we don't know each other's name?
Yeah.
That's a good point. See, this character is probably the plainest looking character. And you can see she's hardy, nervous and sweating. And they're all not in school uniforms, which is kind of odd for a Japanese school that they wouldn't have been assigned a uniform before even showing up on day one. Well, they are in uniforms, but they're in different school uniforms. Okay, let's get the introductions out of the way, then we can move on to whatever else sounds good. Yep, a lot of the Japanese school uniforms based on Navy outfits. I'm still totally lost, but I think it's best just to focus on getting to know each other for now. I mean, it really goes to show where the original thoughts of creating a school came from, and the idea that most schools are designed to look like factories, and they were literally designed to produce factory workers. Japanese school uniforms are all based on the strict, like, Navy uniforms to show dominance? I don't know what to instill obedience in the students, I guess is the best phrase to say that. I'm still totally lost, but I think it's best just to focus on getting to know each other for now. I guess this is as good of a chance as I'm gonna get. I already looked everyone up on that Hope's Peak Academy thread online, but I still don't know what kind of people they actually are. Time to find out. I'll start by talking to those 5 over there. Aim at a student and press the A button to talk to them. Each conversation is important to the overall student, so keep track of how they go. So you have to actually pay attention. Alright. And there's no like back button in this game, so we'll just have to pause here. So yeah, in the next episode, hopefully a lot more will happen and we'll move a lot faster. And hopefully I'll get on less rants, certainly. But until then, that's going to be it for this recording. I guess maybe at the point we might have to go to 2-hour episodes too. But I'll think about that. Yeah, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon. Or you can friend me on Steam and give me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.